Well, I fell for Yua's little act, hook, line, and sinker. Hello there, everybody. I am a sucker, and welcome back to Chaos Head. So, how the hell do I describe last episode? The potential drop that our main character might not actually be right in the head. Literally. And Yua just so happens to not be who I thought she was. But then again, that's my own damn fault for falling for it. I think... Okay, you know what? From a storytelling perspective, that was actually really well done. You established an ultra-paranoid main character, and you use that as a distraction from the obvious potential that the girl is lying. That was really good. Because most of my concern and all that was based on our main character here. And yet you pulled a really well-done switch. Congratulations, novel. The weirdest fucking chapter being chapter 1, and now we're finally in chapter 2. I am now legitimately curious to see where this is going. Let's fucking go. Vroom vroom, quick, get on if you're going on the field trip. All aboard. Lying face down on the floor, Nishijo Takumi held a colored pencil in his hand. The one he was currently using was yellow, having switched from a red one only a few minutes ago. He joyously ran his pencil across the spread-out sketchbook, which he was nearly lying on top of. Takumi loved drawing pictures. He would always doodle on the edge of his notes during every lesson at school. Yeah, that's another thing I can relate on. The morning news had been left running in the background. But since news and the like was boring to a 4th grader like Takumi, he did not pay it any mind. Vroom vroom, candy, get your candy here, only 300 yen! He was drawing a yellow bus and pretending he was the driver. All ashore that's going ashore, we're heading out! As he imagined the scene in his head, he made it actually happen in the picture. Times where he would get too excited and accidentally draw on the tatami beneath him were not exactly infrequent. Oh, yeah, I can see the lines that he did draw on the tatami mat. I can see them. Nanami, who would always read manga beside him, would scold him each time he did it. She had some nerve considering she was the little sister, usually saying things along the lines of, "Oh, come on, don't get the floor all dirty." Even so, Takumi never became any less immersed in his art. However, when he got to the point of drawing the people in the window, his hand suddenly stopped. Then, he ripped up the sketchbook and threw it away. On the previous day, on the day where the autumn field trip had only been one more day away, Takumi had suddenly been told by his parents that he couldn't go. Even though it had been something he'd been looking forward to for a very long time. So much so that he had been in a constant state of excitement for the entire day, wanting the next to arrive as soon as possible. That cruel declaration from his parents was something Takumi absolutely could not accept. He kicked and screamed, saying he would definitely go no matter what, but it was no use. But why? His parents would not listen no matter what he said, choosing only to repeat the same words again and again. You just can't. We're doing this for you, Takumi. Well, congratulations, parents, because you are still refusing to give your child some level of understanding as to why they can't. you immediately put in little bits of seeds of resentment into... what was this? He was 4th grade. That's still pretty damn young. He's like, what, 9 years old? Although this is Japan, so they probably have a different school system here. I don't know. Somebody in the comments can probably explain to me how the Japanese school system works about, like, kindergarten, 1st grade, stuff like that. Or somebody probably explained that to me years ago, and I just legitimately forgot. But I'm going in this with the assumption that he's not even 10 years old at this point. He's a kid who has, from the looks of it, he just likes drawing, which that's something I can heavily relate to. But when parents do that, where they are not necessarily, they are kind of, again, we're only getting this. This is probably from just strictly Takami's perspective here. So it might be a bit blurred, because we know how Takami is with his delusions and all of that, with how his mind works. So, but I'm going to take it with a grain of salt that he is being... I wouldn't say this is completely a biased remembering of what happened. Like, he's probably has this memory stuck in his head for the longest time, and it's only a addition to why he doesn't get along with his parents. Takami sank into his bed and trembled with so much frustration. He was very close to ripping his futon to shreds. He resented his parents from the bottom of his heart. For Takami, that field trip had been a big, big event that could not have come soon enough. Everyone else in this class could go, but he alone was not allowed to. From his perspective, that was beyond unreasonable. Well, yeah, he's a kid. And his parents are, from what I'm understanding... okay, this is exceptionally strange. This is a very bizarre situation. Why? All the other kids get to go. So why him? What are his parents' reasoning for this? Because if they're refusing to give a good reason, and because, I'm sorry, how I see it, if your answer is, it's for your own good, without actually explaining why, you're just looking for an excuse so you don't have to explain it. I'm sorry, that is just kind of how I see it. If you don't give a logistic or actual reasoning as to why you are doing something that is not just, it's for your own good, then you don't have a good enough reason. He could not forgive the teacher, his classmates, anyone. They had all left him behind. And he especially could not forgive his parents for their sudden, unfair decision. Those feelings transformed into pure hatred toward his parents and toward all of his classmates. Takami bit his lip hard enough to draw blood. He muttered curses at them over and over. Because guess what? He's a kid. I don't think anyone should be allowed to go. The following morning arrived. The phone had been ringing over and over again since dawn. Each time... Wait, hold up. Each time his mother would pick up the phone, she seemed to be very shaken while talking. Takami could not even get a wink of sleep. Okay. Okay, so... let's just... maybe I spoke too soon. I tend to have that bad habit where I do tend to speak too soon, and then like 5 seconds later, here's the extra context, and then it makes me look like a fucking idiot. But then again... well, actually, no, there's no then again. I keep making myself look like a fucking idiot. I speak too fast with when my emotions get a little bit crazy. So that's my fault. That's my fault. But this is interesting. Each time his mother would pick up the phone, she seemed to be very shaken while talking. So, again. Actually, no, not again. See, now this is adding a little bit more. Like, this time, maybe in this situation, the parents did know something, but again, they refused to talk to their child about it. So something about this field trip Okay, before I go any further, let's regather my thought process here. The parents knew something was going to happen with that field trip. They still chose not to explain the situation to their child. That could be a manner of, like, trying to protect the child, especially if it's something incredibly... You know what? Let's actually just see, because at this point, me overthinking is going to continue to make me look stupid. And does my I don't know, do my comment section, do you guys like it whenever I start sounding like an idiot? I don't know. The clock passed 9 a.m. In her usual well-behaved manner, Nanami was sitting on a floor cushion reading manga. She had told Takumi the day before, "I'm gonna take a break from school to keep you company, Kay?" As if she thought it was the obvious thing for her to do. Well, that's good for her as a sister. Like, she probably knew that this field trip was super important to her big brother, and she's trying her best to kind of help him. But right now, we have a kid that's stewing in so much resentment that any sign of kindness could kind of be like receiving a slap to the face. He's probably, that's what I'm thinking. Their father had already gone to work, so he was not around. Their mother was very busy with the phone calls and had yet to prepare breakfast. There was no need for him to go to school that day. Sullen as he was, Takumi opened his sketchbook and began drawing to distract himself. His feeling of rage refused to subside, so he tore up the sketchbook in frustration. As he did that, however... Nanami sounded puzzled. To Takumi had thought she was talking about his picture, but her gaze was actually aimed at the TV. Oh! Oh, something happened. Nanami called out loudly to her mother, who was still busy with the phone calls. Now listening, Takumi followed his sister's gaze and stared vacantly at the TV screen. The screen displayed a scene of a collapsed elevated highway. A section that was only about 50 meters long had fallen. Regrettably, a bus driving along there at the time had been caught up in the collapse, toppling onto its side beneath the overpass. It was the very same bus that Takumi should have been on. The bus his classmates were riding on. Wait, hold on. A collapse of an overpass? A collapsed elevated highway. How would the parents know about this? That's interesting. How would the parents know about this? You can't really predict that sort of thing. I mean, unless it's an obvious shoddy, like, the brickwork is a shit show. Just saying. Like, you get a very bad contracting company and they don't build something like that very well and sturdy. From just a single glance, Takumi could imagine exactly what had happened. His classmates were on the screen. One child was sobbing, another had blood all across their forehead, and another was lying atop a stretcher being carried into an ambulance. The reporter was announcing the state of the accident with a grave look on their face, but Takumi did not really understand what they were talking about. His mother was standing at the entrance to the room, holding a cordless phone. Her face was pale. The bus for the field trip was in an accident on the highway. Damn. I'm guessing Mr. Saito was their teacher? And Mr. Saito died. For some reason, Takumi was already sure of this. Everything happening on the TV was eerily similar to what he had pictured in his head the night before, when he had been overwhelmed by frustration and hatred. Oh. This kind of puts into perspective what Yua had grilled him about. Like, was eerily similar to what he had pictured in his head the night before when he'd been overwhelmed by frustration and hatred. This is implying that whenever Takumi's emotions get to a fever pitch where they become too overwhelming, he has like some level of, is it precognition? Like he can somehow glimpse potential future events. And the implication here is he's had this since he was a kid. Which, now that I think about it, explains a lot. Like, actually come to... Ooh, wow. Ooh. Ooh, okay, now I'm really... Okay. There was only one feeling that occupied the depths of his mind. A peculiar conviction. One where he was sure that he had precognitive abilities. Long ago, a show on TV that examined people who claimed to have ESP had been etched into Takumi's mind. A person with precognitive abilities had appeared on the show, shocking the world by demonstrating frightening ESP in the experiment. The experiment verified whether or not the psychic could guess which of 12 items were placed in which numbered box. They did this by placing the subject in a different room, then proceeding to have them predict which cards with the item name on them belonged to which box. Afterwards, staff members in the other room would place the actual items into boxes, then verify how many the psychic foretold. The person on the show received an incredible 90% correct, causing an uproar among the entertainers. As this happened, Takumi tested if he could predict things the same way the psychic on TV did, only to get every single one correct. Of course, he did not tell anyone about this. So as he gazed up at the TV, he believed that the accident was yet another instance of his precognitive predictions being exactly right. Oh, over half the class. Jeez. His mother tried hugging him as he lay down, but Takumi avoided her grasp and crawled to the corner of the room. Her eyes swam about as she whispered in a hollow voice. But, like, this really does make me wonder, like, how did the parents know? Like, did they just have a feeling, or is potentially ESP, does it, like, run in the family? Like, I'm so relieved that I made you stay home. This makes me think that maybe the mother has, like, some level of this precognitive ability, though it's not as strong as Takumi's. So, like, she'll get feelings that something is about to happen, and then she makes a decision. As for the husband, or actually, again, this could go for either parent. Either the mom has it or the dad has it. And maybe the partner is aware. Like, they've seen this precognitive ability actually be effective, so they really do take what their partner says seriously whenever they say they have a bad feeling that something's going to happen. Okay, alright. That does considerably make me look incredibly stupid for what I was saying earlier about the parents' decisions on that. I still think they deserve... I still think the parents that don't at least try to explain to the kids. I still stand by that, where they don't even try to help the kids understand why certain decisions are made. I'm just saying, I still stand by that. Takumi felt sick. They were useless, he thought to himself. His abilities had not made a single difference. Just thinking about it made his heart turn to ice in an instant. After that, Takumi stopped speaking to others for a while. He quite literally went mute. He did not say a single word to another soul. His parents worried about him, and their already overprotective habits escalated even further. Finding them to be acting more and more ridiculous, Takumi thus decided to play the role of a mute boy. He thought of it as revenge against them. Due to his complete lack of talking, his mother took him to be seen in the psychiatry ward of the general hospital. And there, he was diagnosed with PTSD. Since Takumi did not actually have PTSD or anything of the sort, he never once took his medicine. He merely pretended to. His parents never realized he was acting, and in the end, he didn't even feel a hint of pity as they worried themselves sick over him. Now, here's the thing. I personally do feel like maybe he did have a level of post-traumatic stress. He predicted a horrible accident. Having that confirmed to him, I still think that would have some level of, like, trauma to a kid. Or maybe, I don't know. I might be reading too deep into this. Oh, we're back. So, like, okay, it's probably going to explain it, but I'm like, okay, how the hell is he back into his room after that conversation with Yua and that confrontation? I don't know. Everything felt like a lie. The world was filled with falsities. It was overflowing with malice. It was out to get me.
いつもあなたが使っているチャットルームへログインして自分で調べてみてください。
Please log into the chat room you always use and take a look.
私の言っていることが間違っていないってわかるはずです。それと、
And?
私が言ったことは全部本心です。これだけは信じて。
Everything you said, it was all genuine. That's going to be kind of hard to believe after, well, that little turn you did. But I will try to keep that in the back of my mind. As for Takumi, after bombarding me with her nonsensical theories, Yua had said that one last thing before she'd left. There was no way I could believe her. How the hell was I supposed to believe someone that had been lying to me this entire time? I refused to believe that everything there was me, like Yua had said. Everything she'd said about me being Shogun was a total joke. I wanted to believe that. But when I checked the timestamps in the chat log, there was no mistaking that the conversation wasn't matching up.
僕は無遊病なの。
Sleepwalking? That's what you think that might be? Also known as somnambulism or noctambulism, a behavior disorder in which during sleep, especially non-REM sleep, the subject gets up as if they were conscious, wanders around, eats, bathes, etc., but cannot converse beyond simple topics. Depending on the individual, the state can last from anywhere to a few minutes to half an hour. At the end of that time frame, the individual returns to the place where they were initially sleeping and goes back to sleep. While in this state, the individual is completely unconscious and as such has no memory of their actions once they wake up. This behavior often occurs in people with mental problems and is often said to be caused unconsciously by stress. Problem was, during the time Shogun appeared to be posting in chat, I hadn't been sleeping at all. Well, if you can schedule messages, that's... well, I don't know. If I recalled correctly, I had indeed been at cafe at that time, but I hadn't slept, so I couldn't have been sleepwalking. In that case, I wondered why I didn't have any memories of posting as Shogun. Maybe my body had been controlled. The English there. Maybe my body had been being controlled by someone else, which would mean... no, that's ridiculous. I felt that the best way to calm myself down was to escape from reality into the fictional world of ESO. In ESO, everything was fake. A lie. At the end of the day, its world was just part of a video game. But in Bestlard, I could become the godlike existence known as Neidhart. A fabrication like that, a lie like that, was something I'd readily accept. I wanted to stay there. Nobody would mind if I did, would they? Or maybe the world of ESO was actually the real world, and my own reality was the fake one. Just a game. In that case, Nishijo Takumi would be a fictional character, and Neidhart would be my true form.
ねえ、ナイトハルト。
You're talking to your character? I called out to the paladin standing inside the monitor. Was I controlling you, or were you controlling me? Which was it? Could you be real, and I a mere avatar? What if the world I was in was just a game in and of itself? If that were true, that would solve every mystery I was struggling with. What if, just like how I was staring at Neidhart within my monitor, what if someone was staring at me in the exact same way? Okay, now you're getting a bit too meta, dude. Whose eyes are those eyes? That would make them the player controlling me. If I did have someone controlling me, would it kill them to do less of a shit job? Though, I guess an avatar couldn't really complain. It would also explain how Shogun and I could be the same person, validating that theory. Come to think of it, it was kind of like what Lieselot was. Neidhart and Lieselot couldn't possibly exist in Baselard at the same time. I was the only one playing as them, after all. Maybe Shogun and Nishijo Takumi were similar and couldn't exist in the world at the same time. It was also possible that it was a bug. Speaking of bugs, encountering that bizarre girl in a murder case, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff that happened, could have been bugs too. Good! The image Shogun had sent to me flashed through my mind. I gripped my head with my hands and frantically shook it away. I wanted to run away from everything. If maybe, just maybe, there was a player controlling me. Please reset me already. Just remake my character and start from scratch. Please. What? The General Hospital? The waiting room of the university hospital was filled to the brim with middle-aged people waiting to be examined. The view hadn't changed from a few years prior. It almost made me feel as if time itself had stopped there. Moreover, everyone there looked miserable, and the smell of disinfectant pervaded the stagnant air. It was the kind of place that sucked all the life out of you and made you wish for the sweet embrace of death in 5 minutes tops. I didn't like hospitals. The way the lobbies had countless people, yet the corridors beyond felt completely devoid of them, had always freaked me out ever since I was a little kid. It almost felt like the corridors themselves, absorbed and stewed in the stench of death. I always felt like that was what a hospital truly represented beyond its other facade. I even thought that some horrifying creature was lying in wait deep within the corridors. That was why I really didn't want to go there. But there was something I had to make sure of no matter what, so I found myself reluctantly waiting my turn in line for an examination. Even when I tried to fully immerse myself in ESO, the bombshell that Yua had dropped on me continued to swirl around and around inside my head, and I hadn't been able to concentrate for even a second. As a result, my mind had been torturing me with all the various possibilities all the way until morning. And I'd become genuinely scared that something was wrong with me. That was why I went to the hospital, to get an official stamp of approval from a medical professional that said, Nishijo Takumi is completely normal. I wanted to prove that it wasn't me who was abnormal, but Yua. I was used to coming to the hospital's psych ward, and yet when the grill at the reception asked, is this your first time? I nodded without thinking. Grill? What the hell? Girl. Thank you so much for that. Wait, is this implying that all barbecue grills are female? Huh. Ever since that bus accident, my mother had regularly taken me here for checkups. During middle school, my physician had said that I'd completely recovered, and I stopped going after that. This was my first time coming back in about 4.5 years. Oh! Uh-oh. Delusion trigger. Save. Okay. Oh, boy. Okay, this is going to be interesting. So, we have ourselves a delusion trigger in the middle of a doctor's appointment. So if I go positive, he'll have a clean bill of health. If I go negative, then something's going to happen. You know what? My curiosity is already far too curious. I'm way too curious about this. My first physician had been some senile professor who was supposed to have some authority in the field, but I'd only seen him a few times. And after that, someone else had taken over. A student of his or something. And Red. Although despite calling himself the other guy's student, he hadn't been particularly young. To be honest, he'd looked pretty old. The night before, I was reminded of something that Dr. Takashina had said.
ここは病気や怪我だけじゃなくて心にも効く病院なんだよ
A hospital that doubles with mental stuff, huh? Huh. Man, this clearly isn't America. They've got much better healthcare. I hated hospitals, but that doctor had been very nice. He'd left a good impression on me. And I thought he was a good person. What happens if I hit green right now? Oh, that is cool. So, interesting. Okay, actually, you know what? Pause just to be safe. So, if I hit red... Okay, so if I hit one side, I can always stop the delusion by hitting the opposite side. That's fascinating. Okay. Oh, that is interesting. Like, it doesn't automatically go to green. It just cancels it out. So if I pick red, but then I hit green, it goes back to normal. And vice versa. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I'm still going to go with red, but I was just, like, legitimately curious what would happen if I hit green. Okay. Well, let's go back to red. Well, even then, I'd still thoroughly fooled all the adults to the very end. That is, except Dr. Takashina. He'd seen through it all, and he was the one that had declared me completely recovered.
あの人に調べてもらえれば。
If I can get him to examine me. I wonder what he'd say if he learned that I'd become an otaku freak. Nah, there's no way he'd remember me after all this time. Okay, we're locked in. Let's see what happens. It didn't take me long for me to be called into the examination room. I'd expected to be waiting there for quite a while, but I guess I was wrong. Why had there been so many people in the lobby then? Maybe they were being paid to sit there just to make it look busy? What's gonna happen, Takumi? It was a different examination room than the one from 4 years ago, but when I stepped inside, I was welcomed with a face I remembered dearly.
やあ、西条くん。
Hello there, Doc! Dr. Takashina looked at me with a beaming smile. He hadn't changed a bit after 4 years. Feeling relieved, everything I was thinking spilled out all at once.
先生、助けて。
どうしたんだい？
変な女が僕にストーカー行為を。
A strange girl is stalking me?
この
That's what you're saying?
学校にも行けないし、家にも一度来られて場所知られてるから安心できないし。
This is a delusion, right?
落ち着いて。
落ち着いてなんていられないよ。あの女異常だ。僕は正常なんだ。それに岩だけじゃない。悪魔女だって。
Oh, you're not making yourself look good with those words, dude. You literally just... Oh, I mean, easy to say you were spilling it out all at once, but... Okay.
そうだ、悪魔女が真犯人なんだ。
真犯人？
ニュージェネの犯人だよ。間違いないんだ。僕は事件現場で死体を貼り付けにしてる最中のあの女を見たんだ。
You just straight... Okay, I was at the scene of the crime right when the corpse was being crucified. Okay, you... Ooh. I hope that's a delusion, because this guy's gonna have to call the police just as you said that.
大丈夫だ。何も心配いらないから。
Then again, this is a delusion, so...
とにかく落ち着こう。いいね。
Having been admonished by him, I stopped talking. I didn't understand how he knew everything would be alright, but... He was a professional, not to mention Dr. Takashina, so I guess he must be right. That was what I told myself. My breathing was ragged, likely thanks to getting so worked up. I took a deep breath. Dr. Takashina stared fixedly at me. What concerned me, however, was that the look on his face was pretty serious.
本当に大丈夫なの？
もちろんだよ。
What is what?
あんな危ない女が僕を狙ってるのに。
Well, who knows? Don't worry, everything is going to be alright, because... She's right here! Opens closet, boom! Demon girl!
なんでそう言い切れるの？
理由を知りたいかい？
Would you like to know why? Because I am the Zodiac Killer! When I nodded, he lightly shrugged his shoulders. He spun the pin in his hand around his fingers, likely out of habit.
なぜなら、君の言っている女の人は。
After all, that girl is in this room right now!
この世には存在しないからだよ。
Oh. That is not what I expected. Does not exist in this... What? Does not exist in this world?
でも
君は自分の妄想に怯えているだけなんだ。
You're merely terrified of your own... Oh! He's got the medical records. He would potentially know about our character having delusions. Potentially. His tone of voice was so gentle. It was eerie. I started trembling all over. I couldn't stop it. Why was this happening? Even though Dr. Takashina was being so nice, he...
西条くん、君はその女の人には会っていない。わかるね？
You have never seen that girl in reality. Do you understand? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, wink, wonk?
わからないよ。
じゃあもっと具体的に言おうか。君はその女の人には会えるはずがないんだ。
There's no conceivable way that you could have seen that girl. I made sure of it!
もう7年間も君は
Because
この病院から
for the past 7 years,
一歩も
you've never
外に
taken a single
出
step
ていないんだからね。
out of this hospital. Whoa! Oh! The fuck? Huh? What the hell was he?
君はこの病院の精神科に7年間入院している。そのことはわかるだろう？
Ooh, now this is a hell of a delusion. I love it. You've been hospitalized in the psychiatry 7 years in a psychiatry ward and never stepped outside the hospital. Wasn't that like the plotline idea to like one of a Batman comic? Like Batman literally, I might be confusing it with another issue, but he also, in that comic, he had the Joker's head in a jar, and the Joker was always like doing like little quips and all that. Aware of? What the hell was he talking about? How could he casually spout off such insane bullshit with a smile on his face? I inadvertently glanced down at the clothes I was wearing. When I'd come to the hospital, I was wearing a denim long-sleeve shirt on top of a blood-tuned TV shirt, along with the only pair of jeans I had. That was the outfit I should have been wearing. But for some reason, I was now wearing a hospital gown. No, one piece, colored a pale yellowish green. A simple piece of clothing tied together with a cord that hung in front. I wasn't even wearing shorts down below. When had I changed clothes?
ここは閉鎖病棟だからお見舞いの人も来ない。
No, hush, no visitors are allowed.
入院患者さんも男女で別フロアに分けられていて行き来はできない。精神科の看護師は全員男だし、君の病室は完全に個室。窓もない。
Yeah, okay, this is a much more interesting sort of delusion that he's having. Good lord.
つまり君は7年間女性と接触したことがないんだ。君の家族も含めてね。
Not had contact with a single woman in 7 years, including family. Wow.
思い出したかな？
Do you remember now? You're crazy! He was lying. He had to be. I hadn't been hospitalized at all. I was living on my own in Shibuya. I was a pretty well-known high-level player in ESO, and I even went to school. Sure, I only went in accordance with my minimum attendance chart, but that was still 2 to 3 times a week. I even just had a fairly professional, cordial chat with a nurse at the reception desk. Is this your first time here? Yes, it is. All right, then. Please fill out this form as you wait.
嘘に決まってる。
本当にそう思うのかい？
You truly believe that, boy? No! As he murmured that, Dr. Takashina scribbled something on the medical form he was holding. I couldn't tell what he was writing. It wasn't Japanese. Was it English? No. German?
だとしたら君の精神はまだ異常だっていうことだよ。
Well, even without delusions, it's a little bit abnormal.
もうしばらくは入院が必要だね。
You will never leave this hospital alive! He gave me a single fleeting glance. His eyes were full of pity, even though he'd never looked at me in such a way before. I collapsed to my knees helplessly. Tears poured from my eyes. Oh, I see. It all made sense now. All of my memories up until now have just been delusions. It was me all along. I was the crazy one. What a cruel twist that was. Then again, it wasn't like I cared anymore. Even if they were delusions, they weren't fond memories anyway. And I mean, I could just make new ones, right? This time, a world without scary murders happening around me would be nice. I'd have a sociable personality, get good grades, and have some crazy talent. I'd be super popular with the ladies. My friends would all be hotties, as hot as the hottest swimsuit models, and what's more, everyone would love the ever-loving shit out of me. Then, I'd propose that we should all start living under the same roof, and after that, my new life would begin. It wouldn't be easy, and it would have its ups and downs, but it'd be fun. There'd even be a bit of slapstick thrown in there. I forced myself to laugh. My face twitched. I wanted to die. I abruptly came to my senses only to find myself sitting on a sofa in the lobby. Holy fuck! A nasty sweat covered my entire body. A chill ran down my spine. Unable to grasp what exactly was going on, I frantically looked around the room. Beside me was a hunched-over old lady. Her eyes were covered in wrinkles, so I couldn't tell whether she was asleep or awake. I took a look at the clock above the reception desk, and I saw that I'd been waiting in the lobby for a full hour. Had that all been just a dream? I hadn't slept last night, so had I dozed off while waiting? I gave a deep sigh of relief. It had been a bad dream. It had been a dream. Right? See, this is like where, like, oh god. When his emotions reach a fever pitch, these delusions start happening. Couple that with precognition. It really adds to this whole thing of like, which one is an actual precognitive dream, and which one is, oh shit, I might need help. I tried remembering everything that had happened up until the day before. Nothing seemed out of place. My memories were continuous and consistent. I'd encountered the demon girl at the scene of the crime, and then I got deceived and subsequently threatened by Yua. Then I'd gone to the hospital to prove that I was of perfectly sound mind. Yeah, everything added up. I wouldn't mind if it all ended up being a delusion, though. That way, creating another new delusional world that I could go nuts in would have been much, much better. The fact that I was even thinking that just went to show how utterly sick I was with everything that had been happening in my life recently. You're a kid that needs help. In the end, I found myself waiting for another 2 hours before my name was finally called. When I entered the examination room, it almost felt like the same events I'd seen in that dream were happening again. Dr. Takashina even appeared almost exactly like he had in the dream. It was probably so that he'd barely changed from the last time I saw him 4 years ago.
今日はどうしました?
Hey, Doc. Now I get to see your full body this time. Cool. I like your art. Dr. Takashina didn't say anything ridiculous, like, your memories are delusions this time, but...
日常です。
ん? おお、これはご丁寧に。高階です。はじめまして。
He bowed his head cheerfully. I was lost for words. It's a pleasure to meet you? That was what he just said. He'd completely forgotten me. I shouldn't be surprised. It had been 4 years after all. But I truly believe that Dr. Takashina of all people would remember me. Maybe that was arrogant, but I hoped for it all the same. So, my heart was overwhelmed with loneliness and emptiness when those expectations were smashed to pieces. It felt like my very existence was being denied. Dr. Shina started talking to me while making eye contact, but I averted my eyes.
無遊病かどうか調べてほしいと書いてあるが。
Yeah, sleepwalking. Yeah.
何かあったのかな?
Maybe, Doc. Right. I'd written that on the questionnaire, but it was all meaningless now. He didn't remember me at all.
別にいいじゃん。
Who cares he doesn't remember?
先生が覚えてようが覚えてなかろうが関係ないっしょ。最初の目的を忘れちゃダメ。
Oh, right. I hadn't come here to meet Dr. Takashina. I'd come here to prove that I was a completely healthy and sane human being. Our reunion was merely a bonus. Who gives a shit if he'd forgotten me? If Seiratan hadn't stepped in and given me that advice, I would have come dangerously close to losing sight of myself. Whew!
自分でも知らないうちに外に出かけててパソコンで文章打っててそれを全く覚えてないなんてありえますか
Okay, actually explain the situation, like... Okay. Well, I don't know, actually. I mean, I don't think I've ever actually sleepwalked. I sleep talk. And no matter how many times I tell people to record me, they never do, saying I speak some sort of language or some shit that they've never heard.
おお、
知り合いからそう指摘されて混乱しちゃって。
その知り合いの人が冗談を言っているっていう可能性はあると思うかい？
Think this person's playing a prank on you? Oh, no. Yua's eyes had been serious. It hadn't looked at all like she was messing with me. At the very least, I had no doubt that Yua believed what she said.
わかりません。
なるほど。ちなみにその知り合いとはどういう関係だろう？恋人？
That's a bit personal, Doc.
はあ
Where the hell did that come from? And what did it have to do with anything? Was I missing something here?
いや、言い方が悪かったかな。じゃあ言い直そう。
Okay, yeah, rephrase that question, because that was definitely weird.
その知り合いの人は君が意識もないまま歩き回っているのを実際に目撃したのかな？
Asking if there was like an actual witness to this sort of thing. Okay. Oh, so that's what he meant. I shook my head.
じゃあ証拠はないわけだ。
So that means, well, I mean, yeah, I guess. But I once again shook my head.
そいつ探偵気取りっていろいろ証拠を突きつけてきて。
They acted like a detective confronting me with evidence and stuff. Okay, I guess that's the one way of rephrasing that.
そういうことか。ちなみにこれまでにも無遊病の兆候はあったかい？
Okay, this kind of feels like standard. He's trying to get like as much information as he can about like, okay, you think you're sleepwalking. Let's work our way down this list, okay? Makes sense.
いえ。
朝目覚めたらいつものベッドじゃなくて違う場所で寝てたっていうことは過去に一度でもあった？
Well, that's happened to me a couple of times. Except it's usually, instead of being on my bed, I'm on the floor.
いえ。
One time I was on the bunk bed.
じゃあその知り合いに言われたのが初めてっていうことだね。
After nodding weakly, I steeled myself and spoke.
僕、寝てないんです。
Admitting you haven't slept.
もしかして怖いのかな？でもそんなに深刻になる必要はないよ。
Okay.
いや、その。
That's not what I meant. But I couldn't figure out how to explain it, and it was too late to say it out loud anymore. I was too flustered. After scribbling something on a medical form, Dr. Takashina swiveled away from me in his chair and leaned forward toward the back of the examination room.
葉月くん、ちょっと。
Hazuki?
はい。
Four Eyes fan made Hazuki wear glasses. But what how did I make her wear glasses? How? I don't why did I get an achievement for a how did I make... Okay, did one of my delusions actually cause her to wear glasses? Is she not supposed to wear glasses right now? Oh, I am... Okay. Hello! The young nurse rushed over to him, and Dr. Takashina showed her the form. As he did so, he whispered to her for her to do something, and she quickly withdrew to the back of the room. What had that been about? The doctor turned back toward my puzzled self. Then in a gentle voice, he began to explain to me how sleepwalking worked. When a person falls asleep, they first begin non-REM sleep, before eventually progressing to REM sleep. Non-REM sleep is a deeper sleep where the brain hibernates and brain activity ceases. Meanwhile, REM sleep is a kind of sleep where the body is resting, but the brain is active in a state that's fairly close to being awake.
無遊病はノンレム睡眠の時に起きやすいって言われてる。
During non-REM sleep, right.
脳が通常の活動をしていないから、普通の受け答えとかは成立しにくいけど、ちゃんと返事もするし、階段などを踏み外さずに上り下りすることだってできる。
Muscle memory.
原因としては、精神的なストレスを抱えてる時になりやすいんだ。
Yeah. Oh shit, maybe I have been sleepwalking.
子供に多い症状だけど、成人でもよくある症状なんだよ。これでわかっただろ？深刻になることはないって言った意味が。
Yeah, explain that sleepwalking is not necessarily abnormal. Trying to put your fears at ease, essentially. I will admit, sleepwalking is still such a fascinating subject to me, though. You know? But I hadn't been sleeping. Even though I hadn't been sleeping, I'd still done things I didn't remember. The time Shogun had been posting from room 37 in the chat room should have been when I was busy playing ESO. Could sleepwalking really be possible there? I wanted to ask him that, but he was already moving to a different topic.
無遊病かどうかを調べる方法としてはいくつかある。一番手っ取り早いのはここのベッドで寝てもらうことだね。
Oh, right. Setting up monitoring systems and seeing, like, yeah, just actually literally recording your day-to-day life. Or just sleeping.
ただ、特定条件じゃないと発生しない場合もあるかもしれない。例えば、自分のベッドじゃないとダメとか。
Right. That's why it's one of those things that are kind of hard to, like, get evidence of recording. Because you don't necessarily know the requirements needed to cause this to happen. Although I have a theory about how we might make this happen for Takumi. When he's playing ESO. If there was a way that he could set it up to where he could be monitored in what he is doing, and then whenever he's finished playing ESO, he can take a look and see what happened. You know what I mean? That might be one of the conditions for Takumi's specific situation.
意識がない状態で出歩くにしても、目的もなくふらふらと歩き続けるのか。それとも何らかの強迫観念があって、それに影響されて何らかの一連の目的を持って出歩いているのか。
A series of goals.
それに君の精神状態についても特定の条件下じゃないとダメかもしれない。自宅のベッドの上ならリラックスできるけど、ここじゃリラックスのしようがないわけだ。
Right. There needs to be a specific environment, and certain conditions have to be met for this to occur.
どうする？とりあえず寝ていってみるかい？
I had nothing to lose, so I didn't see a reason not to try. Then, after I proved I wasn't sleepwalking, I could try asking the real question I had in mind. Yeah. Okay, we got a plan. The nurse from before, Hazuki-san or something, guided me over to the hospital bed located at the back of the room. As it wasn't a bed meant for sleeping, it was firm and uncomfortable. Then again, considering the sofa I usually slept on, that shouldn't pose any problems for me.
3時間くらいしたら起こしに行きますから。
3 hours? Okay. The nurse was pretty damn cute. That is true. As I lied on the bed, I took a quick peek at her face while being careful to avoid eye contact. Her baby face made her look kind of unreliable, and she even had this almost despondent aura about her, but she was doing her job pretty well. She felt like a heroine right out of a classic eroge, one with kinky Damn it, Takumi. Alright, from the top. She felt like a heroine right out of a classic eroge, one with kinky hospital sex.
できるだけ目は離さないようにしていますので、安心して眠ってくださいね。
Okay. Basically, if symptoms of sleepwalking occurred, like I started wandering around on my own, she'd make sure to take care of me.
それでは、ごゆっくり。
Night. 3 hours? It would take me like it takes me several hours to fall asleep. Then, after giving me a slight smile, the nurse closed the curtain and left the hospital room. Now surrounded by a pure white curtain, I took a deep breath. All around me, I refuse to say that song because I don't get copyright claimed. I could hear the voices of doctors examining patients, the sound of nurses running around, the sound of the door to the examination room opening and closing. Yeah, I doubt I'd be able to relax here. Could I actually fall asleep like this? Figuring I had nothing to lose, I closed my eyes. No matter what I did, my mind refused to think of anything other than that corpse that had been massacred and crucified with stakes, as well as the gory pictures Shogun had sent me. So I forcibly conjured Serotan into my head. Oh god, here we go. What?
タッキー、外出嫌いなのに病院来るなんてすごい。
You're having a okay. Oh boy. Okay, so this is strictly Takumi. The real question is, he is now thinking about his little toy, because that's what she is. His weird, very weird level of fixation on Sarah. So, a positive delusion would be something that I would have to probably censor to hell and back. A negative one, though. It's funny that I'm censoring these at some points strictly so that way they can be up on YouTube in the first place, but I'm not making any money off of this. Because, by the way, I think I said in like the previous episode or the one before that, every single one of my videos of this series has been claimed by the music. Which is why I gave up monetizing on them. So, I'm Alright, here's what I'm going to do. There's going to be some people that are probably going to be upset about this. They're probably going to be incredibly upset about this. I'm going to rip it off like a Band-Aid. And we're going to go with a positive delusion. Or actually, again, we could also just have no delusion at all, but I feel like getting the worst out of the worst would probably be beneficial. Rip that off like a band-aid, okay? Of course, now that I'm thinking about this, if I go for an actual delusion right here at this moment, what if that has lingering side effects on Takumi's psyche? And I'm talking more like he starts to close in on himself even more. Oh, now I'm curious. Becoming more an antisocial by just giving in to the delusions of like this. You know what? He sees this Sarah as a sort of positive influence. How I'm seeing it from everything that I've witnessed so far about this character, she's a negative influence on him. She is this negative crutch that is holding him back from developing as a person. Because as soon as something bad happens, he immediately clings on to this personification in his head immediately. There's nothing wrong with having a sort of comfort, but the more you rely on it, the more it starts to become unhealthy. Or I'm sorry, you got to do it in moderation is what I'm trying to say. He's kind of relying on her in a somewhat unhealthy way, I think. I mean, I'm sorry. As soon as you are hearing this personification literally talking back to you, ugh. All right. Okay, I'm still sticking by what I said. We're going to rip this off like a band-aid. And by the way, if it turns out to be something bad, I'm just going to cut it out entirely. If it's not going to be worth a headache of going through that. If it's as bad as what's potentially going to happen, okay? All right. This may upset some people, but I do not care. Let's get this over with. Let's get this over with.
私前から思ってたんだけどさ、タッキーって実はすごく強い男の子だよね。
Sarah animatedly moved about in my delusion. Her cute voice chirped for me.
私、そんなタッキーの強さが好き。それにタッキーは無遊病なんかじゃないよ。私、毎日タッキーのこと見てるもん。だからわかるさ。
Yeah, this is legitimately a negative. This is just negative.
三次元女になんか騙されちゃダメだぞ。タッキーには私がいるっしょ。
We seriously need to get you away from him.
またあのコンテナハウスで二人きりで過ごそうね。ボケナス。
Serotan, you're so cute, Serotan. She really was my ideal waifu. There wasn't a single woman better than her. 3D, the fuck was that? I want to go home already. I want to go home and have Serotan welcome me back with a smile. No. I changed my mind. I'm too worried about what's potentially going to happen. Fuck it. Let's just get this over with. Just get it over with. Wait for me, okay? Serotan, I'll be coming home soon. Alright, get it over with. Just get this damn positive... I regret. I'm going back. I regret.
タッキー、外出嫌いなのに。
Fuck you, we're going red.
すごい。私前から思ってたんだけど
Shut up. I
さ。
don't care what you're saying.
タッキーって実はすごく強い男の子だ。私、
Do not care. We are going back. We went back. We're going red.
三次元女になんか騙されちゃ。またあのコンテナハウスで二人きりで過ごそうね。
I refuse to give in to your delusions. Fuck it, we're going red. Let's see where this one goes instead. Yeah, that was, yeah. I'm probably just gonna cut all of that out. I'm just not, no. She opened the door to the examination room and was greeted by the doctor's smiling face.
今日はどうしました?
Ignoring the question, she examined her surroundings. The examination room was not particularly large. Atop the doctor's desk sat one blank medical chart, then another one that was filled out in a language that was not Japanese. They called her a demon. Everyone did. Even her own parents. Had she always been a demon, or did everyone calling her one cause her to become one? After all this time, it did not matter to her either way. Regardless, she had slaughtered 8 people over the past month or so. Society called it madness, casting her actions into the realm of infamy, but from her perspective, they were nothing more than numbers. She was a demon after all.
何か気になりますか? もし気になるものがあるなら言ってください。どかしますから。
He was very sensitive to the needs of his patients, something befitting of a psychiatrist. Finding this truly heartwarming, she opened the bag she had brought along, and from that bag she slowly took out a gun! Oh, a 24-centimeter long kitchen knife.
それとも、もっと広い部屋に変え...
The doctor cut his offer short upon seeing the knife. His face stiffened. Sensing his terror, she gave a gentle smile. The doctor would be the 9th. He had not been her intended target, but she might as well make the most out of the opportunity. Placing her bag on the ground, she approached the doctor with a long, soundless strides. Then, maintaining her fierce momentum, she flew toward the doctor's chest and plunged the knife deep inside. The knife slipped past his ribcage, reaching his heart. That single thrust had spelled the end of the doctor's life. The doctor, now no more than an object to her, collapsed against her body. For a moment, she supported his weight so that she could remove the knife, and then once she was done, she knocked the object away with her elbow. The object was lying face up on the floor, its white coat dyed a deep crimson. The nurse who had run over to investigate the commotion let out a scream. In one large step, she trampled over the doctor's corpse and slashed at the nurse with a knife. Fresh blood danced through the air. While it was no fatal wound, it likely etched a rough scar on the docile-looking nurse's face. With a scream, the nurse clutched at her face and crashed to the floor. Oceans of blood spilled out from the gaps beneath her between her fingers, not beneath. Ignoring this, she continued toward the back of the examination room. The 10th would not be the nurse. It was a momentous occasion. The 10th, double digits. So it had to be the target she had originally come for. Everything around her was chaos. The other patients and nurses had long since screamed and ran away. But she did not lend an ear to their cries. She simply searched for him, someone who was most definitely there. Her eyes stopped on a curtain. The curtain was partitioning off a section of the room that was between 2 to 3 square meters large. A section that likely contained a bed. There you are. Her heart trembled with jubilation. The sheer thought of killing him made her
Wow, okay, you kinda made it weird there, thank you.
She slowly closed the gap between her and the curtain. Then instead of opening it normally, she slashed it open with the knife. And when she peeked through the newly opened gap, he was lying on the bed, just like she had expected him to be. I found you. Now that she had seen him, she could not contain herself any longer. She pushed her way through the curtain, and now she stood right by the bed. He was... Oh, so that's what I look like. He was sleeping with a slightly pained expression on his face. She combed her fingers through his hair, stroking it ever so gently. He did not awaken. Gripping the knife with both hands with an underhand grip, she raised her arms high above. Her target was simple. His heart. With a single thrust, just like the doctor before you. I'll put you to rest. Overwrought with feelings of pure rapture, with every ounce of strength she had, she swung down the knife. I'm done.